Dmitry Volkov had one rule: never let anyone in. But when a 6-year-old ran 4 miles through gang territory, barefoot and terrified, just to beg the city's most feared killer for help, that rule shattered the second she grabbed his hand and sobbed, "They've beaten my mama, please don't let her die." He didn't know her mother was the nurse who once saved his brother's life, didn't know the men who attacked her were sent by his oldest enemy, and didn't know this little girl was about to become the daughter he lost and the reason he'd break every code he ever lived by. But he was about to find out, and it would cost him everything. Dmitry Volkov was in the middle of explaining to a very nervous accountant why skimming money from him was a terrible life choice when the kid showed up. "Please, Mr. Volkov, I swear, I have a family, I didn't mean." "Everyone has a family, Sergey," Dmitry said calmly, swirling his bourbon. "That's not a personality trait. It's biology." Anton, his head of security, stood by the door with his arms crossed, looking like a granite statue in an expensive suit. The accountant whimpered. Dmitry leaned back in his leather chair, the dim light of his study casting shadows across his sharp features. At 47, his reputation had long outgrown his presence. People feared the name Volkov before they ever saw his face. That suited him fine. "You have until Monday to return what you took. With interest. 5% sounds fair." 15. "Mr. Volkov, please. Would you prefer 20? No. 15. 15 is generous." "Good. Anton will see you out." The accountant scrambled to his feet like a cat fleeing a bathtub. As Anton escorted him toward the door, there was a sudden, frantic knock. Not from the hallway. From the front gate. Anton paused, pressing his earpiece. His brow furrowed. He tilted his head slightly, listening. Then his eyes widened. "Sir." Dmitry raised an eyebrow. "If it's the Filipov brothers again, tell them I'm not interested in their nightclub. I don't do disco balls." "It's not them." "Then who?" Anton hesitated. "A child." Dmitry blinked. "A what?" "A little girl. She's at the gate. Alone. Crying. And she's asking for you." Dmitry set his glass down slowly. "Asking for me. By name." For a long moment, Dmitry just stared. Then he stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "Show me." The security camera feed flickered on the monitor in the hallway. There she was. Tiny. Barefoot. Her dress torn at the hem. Her face smudged with dirt and tears. She clutched the iron bars of the gate with both hands, her small body shaking. One of the guards leaned down toward her, his voice crackling through the speaker. "Kid, you lost? Where's your mama?" Her reply came in a choked sob. "They beaten my mama." Dmitry's breath caught. The guard exchanged a glance with his partner. "Who beat her? Where is she?" "I don't know. There was so many of them. She told me to run." The little girl wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She said go find someone strong. Someone who could help. "And you came here?" She nodded, sniffling. "I heard the men in my building talk about Mr. Volkov. They said he's the strongest man in the city." Dmitry felt something crack in his chest. Something he thought had been buried years ago. Anton glanced at him. "Sir." Dmitry's jaw tightened. He turned on his heel and walked toward the front door. "Open the gate." "Sir, this could be a—" "I said open it." When Dmitry stepped outside, the cold night air bit at his skin. His polished shoes crunched against the gravel path. The guard stepped aside. And there she was. So small she barely reached his waist. Her eyes, huge, wet, shimmering with desperate hope, locked onto his. She looked up at him like he was a hero. No one had looked at him like that in a very, very long time. "Please, mister," she whispered. "Please help my mama." Dmitry crouched down slowly, his expensive suit folding at the knees. He studied her face. The bruise forming on her cheek. The scrape on her elbow. The way her lip trembled as she tried not to cry. He spoke quietly. "What's your name?" "Lucia." "Lucia, he repeated, his voice softer than anyone had heard it in years. How did you get here? I ran. From where? Eastwood Apartments. Building C. That was 4 miles from here. Through gang territory. Through alleys that would make grown men think twice. This kid had crossed half the city. Alone. Barefoot. In the dark. Dmitri felt a flicker of something dangerous. Respect. He stood, nodding to Anton. Get the car. And wake up Dr. Petrov. We're bringing her inside? Dmitri's gaze didn't leave the girl. We're bringing her home. Before we begin, please hit that like and subscribe button and tell me where you're watching from in the comment. The mansion swallowed Lucia whole. She stood in the grand foyer, her bare feet pale against the dark marble, eyes wide as moons. A chandelier hung overhead like a galaxy made of glass. She'd never seen anything like it. Dmitri watched her from the doorway, hands in his pockets. For a moment, he saw the room through her eyes, cold, vast, intimidating. A palace built by a man who'd forgotten what warmth felt like. You hungry? He asked. She nodded quickly, her stomach answering with a tiny growl. His mouth almost twitched. Almost. Anton, have Irina prepare something. Soup. Bread. Something soft. On it. As Anton disappeared down the hall, Dmitri knelt again, this time slower, more deliberate. He pulled a handkerchief from his jacket and gently wiped the dirt from Lucia's cheek. She flinched at first, then stilled. You're safe here, he said quietly. No one will hurt you. Understand. Her lip quivered. What about Mama? We'll find her. I promise. You promise? He looked into her eyes, those wide, trusting, innocent eyes, and felt the weight of the word. He never made promises. Promises were liabilities. But this time, he meant it. I promise. Her face crumpled, and before he could react, she threw her small arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. Her whole body shook with sobs she'd been holding back since she fled her home. Dmitri froze. He didn't know what to do with his hands. Didn't know how to comfort. His arms hovered awkwardly for a moment, then, slowly, hesitantly, he wrapped them around her. She felt so fragile. Like if he held her too tightly, she'd break. It's okay, he murmured, the words foreign on his tongue. You're okay now. She sobbed harder. And for the first time in 15 years, Dmitri Volkov felt his own eyes burn. Across the city, Camila Reyes dragged herself toward the couch. Every breath was agony. Her vision swam. Blood dripped from her nose onto the cracked linoleum. She tried to call out for Lucia again, but her voice was gone. The apartment was silent. Empty. The window still swayed open, curtains fluttering like ghosts. Her baby was gone. Camila pressed a shaking hand to her ribs and pulled herself up. She had to find her. Had to move. Had to. Her phone. It was on the floor, screen cracked but still glowing. She crawled toward it, every inch a battle. Her fingers closed around it. She dialed 911. The line rang. And rang. 911, what's your emergency? My daughter. Camila's voice cracked. She's missing. Men broke in, they hurt me, she ran, I don't know where. Ma'am, stay calm. What's your location? Eastwood Apartments. Building C, Unit 12. Help is on the way. Stay on the line. But Camila's hand went limp. The phone slipped from her fingers. And the world went dark. In the next few minutes, everything would change. And if you want to see where this impossible connection leads, make sure you're subscribed. This is just the beginning. Back at the mansion, Dmitri set Lucia down at the long dining table. Irina, the house cook, brought out a bowl of chicken soup and fresh bread, her eyes soft with concern. Lucia stared at the food like it was a dream. Go ahead, Dmitri said. She picked up the spoon with both hands and took a sip. Then another. Then she started crying again, but this time, she didn't stop eating. Dmitri sat across from her, silent. And something inside him, something he thought had died long ago, began to wake up. An hour later, Lucia was asleep. She'd curled up on the leather couch in Dimitri's study, wrapped in a blanket Irina had brought, her small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. She looked peaceful, safe. Dimitri stood by the window, staring out at the dark grounds, phone pressed to his ear. I want every camera in Eastwood pulled. Every witness found. I want to know who went into Building C tonight, what they were driving, and where they went after. Understood, sir, came the voice on the other end. His intelligence officer, Mikhail. And the mother? Find her. Alive, preferably. On it. Dimitri ended the call and exhaled slowly. Anton appeared in the doorway. Ambulance took a woman from that building 20 minutes ago. Beaten. Unconscious. St. Mercy Hospital. Dimitri turned sharply. That her? No ID yet. But the timing matches. I want 2 men outside her room. No one gets in or out without clearance. Already done. Dimitri allowed himself a brief nod. Then his eyes drifted back to the sleeping child. What the hell am I doing, Anton? It was the first time in years he'd asked that question out loud. Anton considered his answer carefully. Something different. Different, Dimitri repeated, tasting the word like poison. Different gets you killed in this business. Maybe. Or maybe it saves you. Dimitri scoffed. You turning philosophical on me? Just observant. Dimitri rubbed his temple. She doesn't belong here. This world, it's ugly. Dangerous. I can't. Sir, Anton interrupted gently. She knocked on your gate. Not the police. Not a church. Yours. She's 6. She doesn't understand what that means. Maybe not. But she knew you were strong enough to help. And she was right. Dimitri said nothing. From the couch, Lucia stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked around disoriented, then saw Dimitri. Mr. Volkov? He walked over, crouching beside her. Right here. Is Mama okay? He hesitated. Lies came easy to him. But looking into her eyes, he found he couldn't do it. I don't know yet. But my people are looking for her. Best in the city. Will they find her? Yes. She studied his face, then reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were so small they barely wrapped around 2 of his. Thank you, she whispered. Dimitri's throat tightened. He squeezed her hand gently. Get some sleep. You're safe. She nodded and closed her eyes again. But she didn't let go. And neither did he. Outside the mansion, in a black sedan parked just beyond the gate, a man with a scar across his jaw watched through binoculars. He smiled. Then he made a call. He took the bait. Morning came too bright. Dimitri hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in his study, monitoring reports, making calls, and occasionally glancing at the couch where Lucia slept curled beneath the blanket like a kitten. At 6 a.m., Mikhail called. The mother's awake. Stable. 3 cracked ribs, concussion, lacerations. She's asking about her daughter. Anyone try to get to her? 2 men showed up an hour ago. Posed as family. Our guys turned them away. Dimitri's jaw clenched. They know she's there. Without a doubt. Double the security. I'm coming in. He hung up and turned to find Lucia standing in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Her hair stuck up in wild angles. She looked impossibly small in her torn dress. Morning, Dimitri said, softening his voice. Is Mama okay? She's at the hospital. She's safe. We're going to see her. Lucia's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. Really? Really? But first, he gestured to Irina, who appeared as if summoned. We're getting you cleaned up. 20 minutes later, Lucia emerged in fresh clothes. A simple sweater and jeans Irina had somehow procured from God knows where. Her face was washed, her hair braided. She looked like a different kid. Dimitri led her to the car. Anton drove. Lucia sat in the back, staring out the window at the city she'd run through in the dark. In daylight, it looked less frightening. Mr. Volkov? You can call me Dimitri. She tested the name silently. Then, Dmitri, are you a bad man? Anton's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Dmitri paused. Why do you ask? Because the men in my building say your name like they're scared. But you've been nice to me. He considered his answer. I've done bad things. To bad people. But not to good people? I try not to. She seemed to accept this. Then I think you're good. Something about the simplicity of her logic cracked him open. Your mama might not agree. Mama says everyone deserves a second chance. Even people who make mistakes. Dmitri looked out the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. Your mama sounds smart. She is. She fixes people. At the hospital. His head turned slightly. She's a nurse. Lucia nodded. She says helping people is the most important job in the world. Dmitri said nothing. But something stirred in the back of his mind. A memory. Years ago. A woman in scrubs who'd stitched up his younger brother after a deal gone wrong. She'd asked no questions. Just worked with steady hands and kind eyes. He'd never seen her again. Could it be? They arrived at St. Mercy Hospital under tight security. Dmitri's men flanked the entrance. Anton stayed close. As they stepped into the elevator, Lucia slipped her hand into Dmitri's. He looked down at her. She smiled up at him. And for a moment, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't beyond saving after all. The elevator doors opened. And standing in the hallway, pale and battered but very much alive, was Camila Reyes. Her eyes locked on her daughter. Lucia. Mama! The little girl sprinted forward and crashed into her mother's arms. Camila dropped to her knees, ignoring the pain, clutching her baby like she'd never let go. Dmitri stood back, watching. And then Camila's eyes found his. Her expression shifted. Fear. Confusion. Recognition. You. Camila held Lucia tighter, her gaze never leaving Dmitri. You're Dmitri Volkov. It wasn't a question. I am. Her breathing quickened. What is my daughter doing with you? Dmitri kept his voice calm, his hands visible. She came to me. Last night. Said men had hurt you. I brought her somewhere safe. Safe. Camila's laugh was bitter, almost hysterical. You're a criminal. Mama, Lucia pulled back, confused. Lucia, baby, go sit over there for a moment, okay? Camila pointed to a chair near the nurse's station. But, now, sweetheart. Reluctantly, Lucia obeyed. Camila stood slowly, wincing. She was bruised, bandaged, but her eyes burned with fierce maternal fire. I don't know what game you're playing, but my daughter is not part of it. No game, Dmitri said evenly. She showed up at my gate, barefoot and terrified. What was I supposed to do? Turn her away? You could have called the police. The police don't protect people in Eastwood. You know that. Her jaw tightened. She did know. She'd lived it. Anton stepped forward. Ma'am, with respect, someone sent those men to hurt you. They came back to the hospital this morning. If Mr. Volkov's men hadn't been here. Camila's face went white. What? You're being targeted, Dmitri said quietly. And unless you tell me why, I can't protect you. I don't need your protection. Your daughter does. The words landed like a slap. Camila's hands shook. She looked at Lucia, sitting across the hall swinging her feet, oblivious to the danger swirling around her. I don't know why they came, Camila whispered. I'm a nurse. I keep my head down. I don't get involved in your world. Dmitri studied her. You ever treat anyone? Someone connected? Someone who might have told you something you shouldn't know? I treat everyone. That's my job. Think, Camila. She flinched at the sound of her name on his lips. Then her eyes widened. There was a man. 3 years ago. Gunshot wound. He was bleeding out in the ER. No ID. Refused to talk. I stabilized him. She hesitated. He had a tattoo. A falcon. On his neck. Dmitri's expression went cold. The Kozlov mark. Anton swore under his breath. Camila's voice trembled. Who are the Kozlovs? Rivals, Dmitri said darkly. Dangerous ones. If they think you know something, or worse, if they think you helped someone who betrayed them, they'll come for you. Again. I didn't. Doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. It matters what they think. Camilla's knees nearly buckled. Anton caught her arm. She looked at Dmitri, desperation breaking through her anger. What do I do? He stepped closer. You let me help. Why would you? His eyes flicked toward Lucia. Then back to her. Because a long time ago, someone like you saved my brother's life. And I never got to say thank you. Camilla's breath caught. That was you, she whispered. The boy with the knife wound? You were the one who brought him in. Dmitri nodded slowly. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He died 2 weeks later. I read about it in the news. I know. She covered her mouth, overcome. And for the first time the wall between them cracked. Dmitri brought them back to the estate. Camilla didn't fight it this time. She was too tired, too scared. And despite everything she knew about him, despite the fear knotted in her chest, he'd kept his word. Lucia was safe, and right now that was all that mattered. Irina prepared a guest room on the second floor, warm, soft, nothing like the cold marbled halls downstairs. Camilla sat on the edge of the bed while Lucia explored the adjoining bathroom, delighted by the size of the tub. Mama, look. It has jets. Camilla smiled faintly. Don't flood the place, baby. Dmitri appeared in the doorway, holding a tray. Toast. Simple, but thoughtful. You didn't have to, Camilla said quietly. You haven't eaten. She took the tray. Their fingers brushed. She pulled back quickly. He noticed but didn't comment. I'll have Anton post guards outside. You won't be disturbed. Thank you. He turned to leave. Dmitri. He paused. Why are you really doing this? He looked back at her. For a moment she saw past the armor. Past the reputation. She saw something raw. Something grieving. Because I know what it's like to lose everything, he said. And I won't let it happen to her. Camilla's throat tightened. Before she could respond, Lucia ran out of the bathroom and launched herself at Dmitri, wrapping her arms around his waist. Thank you for saving Mama, she said, voice muffled against his shirt. Dmitri stood frozen. Then, slowly, he rested a hand on her head. You're welcome, little one. Lucia beamed up at him. Will you read me a story tonight? Lucia, Camilla started. I don't really do stories, Dmitri said. Please. He looked at Camilla. She shrugged, a ghost of a smile tugging at her lips. He sighed. One story. Lucia cheered. That night, Dmitri sat in a chair beside Lucia's bed, a worn copy of The Velveteen Rabbit in his hands, one of the few books left in the house from a life he didn't talk about. Lucia snuggled under the blankets, eyes heavy but refusing to close. He read slowly, his deep voice softening with each page. Camilla watched from the doorway, arms crossed, heart aching in a way she didn't expect. By the time he reached the end, Lucia was asleep. Dmitri closed the book and stood quietly. He found Camilla still there. She adores you, Camilla whispered. She barely knows me. Kids see people clearly. Better than adults. He met her eyes. And what do you see? She hesitated. Then, honest and quiet. Someone trying. It was the kindest thing anyone had said to him in years. He nodded once, and walked into the hall. But this time, when he glanced back, she was still watching. 3 days passed like a fragile dream. Lucia laughed in the garden. Camilla's bruises began to fade. And Dmitri, against every instinct he'd honed over decades, allowed himself to feel something close to peace. But peace, in his world, never lasted. It was Camilla who shattered it. She'd been in Dmitri's study, looking for a book Lucia wanted, when she found the drawer. Unlocked. Unusual for a man like him. Inside, photograph. Documents. Maps marked with red X's. Names crossed out in ink. And a file labeled Kozlov Operation. Her hands trembled as she opened it. crime scene photos, surveillance images, a handwritten note in Dimitri's sharp script. Eliminate all witnesses. No loose ends. Her stomach turned. She'd known what he was. But seeing it, the calculated brutality, the coldness of it all, made it real in a way she'd been avoiding. She stumbled back just as Dimitri entered. He saw the file in her hands. His face went unreadable. Camila! Don't! Her voice cracked. Don't say my name like we're friends. You weren't supposed to see that. Clearly. She threw the file onto the desk. Photos scattered. God, what was I thinking? You're not some misunderstood hero. You're exactly what they say you are. I never pretended to be anything else. You let my daughter sleep under your roof. You read her bedtime stories. Tears streamed down her face. And the whole time, you're planning executions like it's a grocery list. Dimitri's jaw clenched. Those men would have killed you both. I'm protecting you. By becoming the monster? I've always been the monster, Camila. You just didn't want to see it. She flinched like he'd struck her. We're leaving. You can't. Not yet. It's not safe. I don't care. She turned toward the door. I'd rather die out there than raise my daughter in a house built on blood. Camila, listen to me. No. She spun back, eyes blazing. You listen. I know men like you. I've stitched up their victims. I've held their widows while they cried. You don't protect people, Dimitri. You destroy them. The words hit harder than any bullet. For a long moment, he just stood there. Then, quietly, almost broken. You're right. She blinked, caught off guard. You're right, he said again. I am what you think I am. And you should leave. Take Lucia. Go somewhere far from here. I'll make sure you're safe. But you're right to go. Camila's anger wavered. She saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected. Surrender. Dimitri. Anton will drive you. Pack whatever you need. He walked past her without another word. And Camila stood there, holding her anger like a shield, but feeling it crack beneath the weight of something she didn't want to name. 30 minutes later, Camila and Lucia stood in the foyer, a small bag at their feet. Lucia clutched Dimitri's hand. Why do we have to go? She asked, tears in her eyes. Because your mama knows what's best, Dimitri said gently. But I don't want to leave you. His throat tightened. I know, little one. Will I see you again? He crouched down, eye to eye with her, and smiled, sad, genuine. Maybe. She threw her arms around his neck. He held her close. Then she whispered in his ear, You're the best papa I never had. Dimitri's eyes burned. Camila looked away, blinking hard. Anton opened the door. And just as they stepped outside, a black van screeched to a halt at the gate. Gunfire erupted. Chaos. Glass shattered. Guards shouted. Dimitri yanked Lucia and Camila back inside, shielding them with his body as bullets tore through the doorway. Anton returned fire, barking orders into his radio. North Gate breach. All units respond. Dimitri pulled them into the hallway, his hand firm on Camila's arm. Upstairs. Now. Safe room. Third door on the left. Code is 4-7-2-9. What about you? Camila's voice shook. I'll handle this. Dimitri. Go. She hesitated only a second, then grabbed Lucia and ran. Dimitri pulled his gun from the desk drawer and moved toward the front. Outside, men in black masks poured through the gate. Professional. Armed. Coordinated. Kozlov's men. Anton took down 2. Dimitri dropped another. But they kept coming. Then, over the gunfire, a voice boomed through a megaphone. Volkov! Dimitri froze. He knew that voice. Send out the nurse and the kid and we leave. You have 60 seconds. Anton looked at him. Sir. Dimitri's mind raced. He could fight. He had enough men, enough firepower. But in a firefight, stray bullets didn't care about innocence. Lucia could die. Camila could die. Or he could make a deal. He stepped into the doorway, hands raised, gun visible but lowered. Let's talk. The gunfire stopped. From the shadows, a man stepped forward. Tall, scarred, cold-eyed. Alexei Kozlov. Dmitry Volkov, Alexei said with a smile that wasn't. The Great Protector. Funny. Last I checked, you didn't care about collateral damage. What do you want? Justice. Your people killed my sister. Your sister married into my family. She died because of your vendetta, not mine. Alexei's smile vanished. Lies. Check the records. I wasn't even in the country. Doesn't matter. You built the world that killed her. And now I'll take everything from you. Starting with them. Dimitri's blood ran cold. They have nothing to do with this. Neither did she. Alexei raised his weapon. 60 seconds, Volkov. Send them out, or I burn this place to the ground. Dimitri's heart hammered. He could feel Camila watching from somewhere upstairs. Could imagine Lucia's terrified face. He had one move left. One choice. Take me instead. Alexei laughed. What? Let them go. Take me. Do whatever you want. But they walk. Dmitri, no, Anton hissed. Deal or no deal, Alexei? Alexei studied him. Then slowly lowered his gun. You're serious? Completely. A long pause. Then Alexei smiled. Deal. Drop your weapon. Hands behind your head. You come with us. They stay alive. Dmitri set his gun on the ground, raised his hands, and walked toward his own execution. Upstairs, Camila watched through the window, her heart breaking. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Lucia tugged her sleeve. Mama, what's happening? Camila's hands shook. Then she saw it. On the desk in the safe room, a radio. Anton's backup channel. She grabbed it, pressed the button, and made a choice of her own. This is Camila Reyes. If anyone loyal to Dmitry Volkov can hear me, he's about to die. And I'm not letting that happen. Static. Then. Ma'am, this is Mikhail. Where are you? Safe room. 3rd floor. They're taking him, Kozlov's men. We're 10 minutes out. We don't have 10 minutes. A pause. Then a different voice. Older. Calm. Mrs. Reyes. This is Father Gregor. I served with Dimitri's father. If you're willing to trust me, there's a tunnel beneath the estate. Leads to the east woods. Take the girl. Get out. I'm not leaving him. Ma'am. I said I'm not leaving him. Silence. Then Mikhail again. Tell us what you need. Camila's mind raced. She looked at Lucia. Then at the radio. And then she smiled. I need a distraction. 5 minutes later, the east side of the estate erupted in controlled explosions. Smoke grenades, flashbangs, nothing lethal but loud enough to shake the earth. Kozlov's men scattered, thinking it was a counter-assault. In the chaos, Camila slipped out the side entrance, Lucia behind her, moving low and fast like Dimitri's men had taught her. She found him on his knees in the courtyard, hands zip-tied, Alexei standing over him with a gun to his head. Any last words, Volkov? Dimitri's eyes were calm. Resigned. Just one. Duck. Alexei frowned. Then the shot rang out. Not from Alexei. From the rooftop. Mikhail's sniper. Alexei dropped, clutching his shoulder, howling. Dmitri rolled, slamming his shoulder into another guard, using his zip-tied hands like a club. Camila grabbed a fallen pistol, hands shaking, and fired twice into the air. Everyone froze. She pointed it at Alexei. Leave. Now. Or I stop aiming high. Alexei stared at her in disbelief. Then at Dmitri. Then at his bleeding shoulder. He laughed bitterly. You really did go soft. No, Dmitri said, standing. I just found something worth protecting. Alexei spat blood. Signaled his men. They retreated. Sirens wailed in the distance. 2 weeks later. The estate was quieter now. Repaired. Peaceful. Lucia sat at the grand piano in the music room, plinking out a melody Irina had taught her. Camila stood in the doorway, watching, a cup of tea warming her hands. Dmitri appeared beside her. "She's got a good ear," he said. "She gets that from her father." A pause. "I never asked about him. He left before she was born." Camilla's voice was soft. "Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. His loss." She looked up at him. Really looked. "You know, she keeps calling you Papa when you're not around." Dimitri's breath caught. "And you're okay with that?" Camilla smiled. "I think I'm more than okay with it." He turned to her. "Camilla." She kissed him. Soft. Sure. Full of everything unsaid. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. "You saved us. Now let us save you." Dmitri smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in years. "Deal." Lucia looked up from the piano. "Papa. Mama. Come listen." They walked in together. A family. Unlikely. Unorthodox. But real. Do you believe people can truly change, or are we defined by our past? Drop your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your story. That's today's story. If it moved you, please like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. It means more than you know.